Welcome to day 2 of your 21-day quest. We covered a lot of ground yesterday in the first day of our journey together, and we're going to be covering even more today, so fasten your seatbelts because here we go. You were invited yesterday to embrace as your truth the fact that God exists and to accept that everything and every person is a part of God and an expression of divinity. Now, if you embraced this truth as reality yesterday, or if you had already done so before you even started this quest, then you surely have asked yourself the question that every thinking person might be expected to now ask. What is my purpose in being here in physical form? Why would divinity choose to express itself as a being on earth? The answer that Conversations with God gives us is that physical life exists everywhere in the universe as the means by which the metaphysical reality of God may be expressed, and thus may be known experientially. In short, God wants to experience itself, not just know itself. The dialogue tells us that in the realm of the spiritual, divinity is a conceptual reality, but not an experiential reality. The realm of the physical exists to provide a contextual field within which concept may be turned into experience. Physical life offers the soul the opportunity to not only know that it is divine, but to express it. Many people call this process self-realization, and it is that for which every soul yearns. It is that for which every life yearns. It's what makes birds, fish, and even the tiniest insects migrate thousands of miles. What makes ocean waves roar with majestic power on thousands of beaches. What makes stars shoot silently and stunningly across thousands of light years in the night sky. It is God, not simply knowing itself, but expressing the wonder and the glory of divinity. And to do so consciously, deliberately, intentionally is the privilege of humanity and of all sentient beings in the universe. Sentience is the gift of God's presence in the fullness of self-awareness. There's no better way I could describe it. This is what makes life sacred. I was told in the Conversations with God dialogue that there are what we would call 3 realms in the kingdom of heaven: the realm of the spiritual, the realm of the physical, and the realm of pure being. We too migrate, moving between realms in a never-ending cycle that we have called the eternal journey of the soul. It's a remarkable journey, no less spectacular than any other expression of life, in which we turn our knowing of divinity into our expression of divinity, our concept of God into our experience of God, our contemplation of the divine into our actually being divine. This is a process of which we never tire. And if you can't imagine never tiring of the same thing, think of loving and being loved. It's the same thing over and over again, and all we want is more of it. The process that I've been describing eventually changes us from one who is spending most of one's time doing to one who is spending most of one's time being. This shift is what some people have called transformation. I've said before that the largest percentage of the world's people are spending the largest percentage of their time on things that don't matter. And given what we now understand to be the agenda of the soul, this observation is right on the mark. Self-realization is not achieved through what an individual is doing, but through what we are being while we're doing whatever we are doing. Divinity is a state of being, not an action. An action may show what we're being, but it's what we are being that produces the action, not the other way around. Sadly, and perhaps because the human species is so very young, most people don't know this. And so, most humans are spending their time focused on what they are doing. They believe that it is what they are doing that will bring them happiness. They believe that it is what they are doing that will produce fulfillment. Many even believe it is what they are doing that will put them in God's good graces and allow them to be welcomed back into the kingdom of heaven. Yet what your soul is not focused on is what you are doing for a living. It's not concerned with what activity fills up the days and times of your life. It uses your body and your mind as tools with which to produce ample and rich opportunities to reflect a state of being that expresses divinity. You understand, yes, that you're not really your body. Your body is something you have. It's not something you are. It's the same with your mind. It is the soul of you that is who you are. And the soul's agenda is to be, in its experience, what it is in ultimate reality. So when I use the phrase state of being, I'm referring to a quality or an essence that characterizes the energy that is projected from you into the universe at any given moment. Is this, more often than not, a quality or attribute that you would describe as divine? If you could recreate yourself anew in the next grandest version of who you are in every moment, would the state of being that you inhabit and project when you are doing whatever you are doing be described by you as your highest self? To remind you of what was said earlier in this quest, Conversations with God tells us that the whole purpose of life is to, remember those 25 words? Recreate yourself anew in each golden moment of now in the next grandest version of the greatest vision ever you held about who you are. Of course, you can't do that if you don't have a vision of who you are, or if your vision of who you are is all wrapped up in what you do in your life. What no one ever told us, until now, is that your divinity has nothing to do with your profession. You can play first base for the New York Yankees or first chair violin for the Vienna Philharmonic Orchestra. You can be a baker in China or a maker of China in Bakersfield. You can be His Holiness the Pope in Rome or roam the world to create holiness through some job or career, occupation or activity. The agenda of your soul is and always will be about who you are being, not what you are doing. I know that I'm making this point over and over again, but I'm doing so on purpose for a reason. This is the central issue in all of life. This is the pivotal proposition to be placed before you every day, indeed, in every minute of every day of your life. I was invited in the dialogue of Conversations with God to ask myself a single probing question whenever I'm about to do anything. Whether I'm about to do something large, like make a career change, or something small, like just go out for the evening or take in a movie. Whether I'm about to say something that is important to someone who is important in my life, or to share something unimportant to a stranger on the street. Whether I'm about to read a book or watch television or listen to a song on the music app on my cell phone, whatever it is that I'm about to do, anything at all, I'm invited to ask myself this question. And what does this have to do with the agenda of your soul? I've come to call this life's magic question. It's a question, the answer to which can create a context for everything that I think, say, and choose to be. And now listen up, because what I'm going to say here is significant. It's critical that you become aware that what you are being is a choice. Are you being happy? Are you being sad? Are you being joyful? Are you being angry? Are you being compassionate, constructive, and caring? Are you being critical, corrosive, and condescending? What are you being, and why? Many people think that what they're being is something over which they have little or no control. They see it as a reaction to something that is occurring. Yet what you are being can be a decision, not a reaction. I created a device, a little mechanism that I use to make that last statement real in my life. I like to use it to show myself how easy it is when I think about it, to choose a state of being arbitrarily, to be something simply because I decide to be. Here's what I do to demonstrate this to myself. I take out a piece of paper and I make 7 columns on the page. Then I draw 3 lines across those columns, which produce what I call the grid. At the head of each column, I write a day of the week. At the far left of the lines going across, I write the time of day, morning, afternoon, or evening. Then, in each of the squares on this makeshift calendar, I write a one-word state of being. It could be creative, helpful, happy, inspiring, uplifting, or whatever state of being that I think I might like to adopt for that time period. Now, what I've done here is decide ahead of time, rather than after something has happened, what I want to be during that morning, afternoon, or evening. I try to think of what kinds of things might be taking place on those days during those times, based on my appointment calendar. Then I pick ways of being that would complement or enhance the experiences I expect to encounter. Once in a while, I might choose a way of being that has nothing at all to do with my scheduled activity. Just do it as an experiment, just to see if I can be what I choose to be, no matter what's going on around me. This is a great exercise that stretches my mood muscles. The mental discipline that this process takes helps me to train myself to step into aspects of divinity at will. Between using the grid and asking myself life's magic question, I've got a couple of tools that can turn my concept of myself into my experience of myself at the snap of a finger. Thanks for letting me share with you some guidelines for day 2 of your quest. Now, here's today's assignment. There are 4 parts. Number 1, write a short paragraph in your awakening journal describing what you understood before undertaking this quest to be the purpose of life. Note any difference between those thoughts and your understanding now. Number 2, write down the highest idea you currently have of yourself, how you live, treat others, your livelihood, and so forth, and compare it to how you're actually living right now. What, if anything, do you choose to change? Number 3, make a habit of using life's magic question to turn your biggest idea of yourself into an experience today. Remember what that question was? The question was, what does this have to do with the agenda of my soul? So today, make a list in your awakening journal of how many times you asked that question and what difference it made in your behavior and in your experience of self. Then, number 4, make a list in your journal of at least 6 to 10 states of being that you define as divine. Enter your personal choices in the beingness grid supplied with this quest and use it as a tool for awakening for the rest of this week. And I'll see you tomorrow.